If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping! Well, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 260 of the Yapping Yankees podcast. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, your friendly neighborhood Yankee yapper with the best yap in all the land, here on August 3rd, 2025, with yet another extra large order of the Yappuccino for you. Thank you very much. Always so kind with the applauses. Well, coming to you live from the echo chamber for the third time. Some good self-deprecation never hurt nobody, right? Well, I did get some feedback last week, and I'm glad to hear this, although the issue isn't completely resolved. I did mention that I have some sort of a screen behind me to try to really absorb the echo at least a little bit in the spare bedroom in my new apartment. Got some feedback last week that the only times they really hear it now extremely is when I really raise my voice, which is, a decent portion of my personality. So that's a little bit discouraging, but we make do as good as we can. That's what we do here. So the fact that that is a chunk of my personality is just a little bit disheartening, but we'll make do with what we can. But I did have a lot of people tell me that, especially when I'm just talking even keel, sort of like this, that it is not as noticeable as the very first time that I broadcasted from the spare bedroom in my new apartment. So I am very happy about that. The screen is up once again behind me because of that, and I hope that the episode is more listenable, like last week's apparently was. Speaking of last week, well, had a lot to talk about then, and we got a lot to talk about now. But last week was also the second consecutive Sunday I did an episode of Yapping Yankees, and today is the third for the first time this year, I think. It's insane when you think about it. It just tells you how crazy my 2025 has been. That this is the first friggin' time all season, I think, that I have done 3 weekends in a row of the show.
Holy crap!
Holy crap indeed, Frank Barone. But that is insane when I think about that. I mean, you think of the consistency that I had with all the seasons before this, but hey, 2025 has been a madhouse. What can I tell you? Speaking of madhouse, when it comes to 2025 and our, I struggle to use the word beloved right now. Our Yankees, I'll just say, my God, do they suck or what?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Yeah, substitute this guy with this team. The Yankees really suck right now, guys. And I'm just getting right into it. I'm not even wasting any time talking more about my personal life or anything else going on with me. I mean, everything major that's been going on with me I've talked about for the most part for the last couple of weeks, but nothing too crazy new this week. So we're just going to dive right in and not waste any time on this episode. I mean, hell, this is why you're here anyway, right? Probably can't wait to hear what I have to say after the last week the Yankees have had. I mean, the last 6 or 7 weeks, absolutely. We've spoken about it at length as good as we could. The last 3-4 episodes of the show. I truly don't even know where to begin this week because it's another edition sort of whiplash, but also not. It depends on what you mean by that. By gameplay or how the deadline went, I know that the major piece of anticipation this coming week, or the week that just passed, I guess, when it comes to last week's episode was this coming week, was the deadline that just came and went on Thursday. And I definitely have a lot to say in regards to that, but as far as the aftermath of it, so far, granted it's only been 3 games played since the passing of the trade deadline, but also just the gameplay this past week overall. I mean, guys, the Yankees really make it hard to root for them. I cannot remember a Yankees team since I started watching in 2007. That's almost 20 years ago now. I know it's not nearly as long of a sample size or nearly as long of a period of time as many of you out there who are way older than me may have been watching the team. I understand that. But nearly 20 years is also not a small sample size either. It's a pretty decent amount of time, a couple of decades watching something and having a lot of examples to draw back from and take from. This team, and I say this after 2013, after 2014, after 2016, especially 16, because the second half of that year with the Baby Bombers coming up at least presented some degree of excitement for the imminent future. But 13 and 14 even with those 84, 85 win seasons, I mean, you still had a couple of big names on those teams, made it fun, and they were still finishing with records much better than the talent on their team deserved to have. But especially because of the talent that this 2025 team is supposed to have on paper, despite some of the names they've missed for the year, or at least a chunk of it, they should not be this bad. I know that there's still like 8 games over 500. I'm aware of that, but guys, I mean, who are we kidding? With or without Garrett Cole, with or without Judge for the last few days, this team should not be this bad. And on top of that, not even just bad record-wise, watching how they play. More examples this week. Somehow it just doesn't seem to end. We are in August now, my guy. August. There is one more full month left of the season after this month is completed. There are like 50 games left. We're about 2/3 plus through the regular season already. If you could believe it, I can't either, I know. But every week we come back and talk about this team. It is bafflingly so more of the same. And I don't know how it's not getting at least a little bit better. More stupidity on a daily basis. And you name what it is. Usually, offense is not the bad part of the team. Last couple of nights, they've taken a siesta. But you know what? The pitching deserves to have the bird given to them after all the games they've freaking blown the whole year. Or at least for the chunk of the last couple of months. Whether it be on the mound, the pitchers choking beyond, falling asleep on defense, falling asleep on the bases. The mistakes, they don't end. Friday night was top 2 or 3 most infuriating games I have ever seen. And the Yankees don't have any shortage of that the last bunch of years. That was one of the worst, if not the worst, I have ever experienced, had the misfortune of experiencing. Yesterday, Jazz still with his head up his ass. How do you not get back to first base after an infield pop-up? Sure, that sounded really good echo-wise, but I just cannot stomach what I see, what we all have such a misfortune of seeing from this team on a daily basis. These are mistakes that high schoolers would be chewed out making, that they try their utmost to not do at a high school, little league level. This happens to everybody once in a blue moon. Nobody's perfect and everybody does stupid crap every once in a while. I get it. But this team, how frequently it actually happens. How many weeks have we spoken about now? How many weeks has everybody spoken about on any sort of social forum of how this happens with the Yankees in some facet of the game almost every day? Their stupidity is mind-boggling. And you're even starting to see it get to Aaron Boone now. I do, of course, partially hold him accountable as the manager, because lack of fundamentals is just, when it gets to the point that it has here, it is definitely, to a degree, an organizational problem, although players certainly have to be held culpable too. I know Michael Kay was talking about that on the broadcast yesterday after Jazz's mistake, and he is completely correct. Everybody's got a share of degree of blame here, because that's how disgraceful it has gotten. But my God, you even see Aaron Boone cracking. When do you ever see that? This is the even keel guy who, to the eyes of the public, to the camera, is always the guy saying, it's right in front of us. Or, we're a good team. We're top players, elite, this and that. All these buzzwords that he's used for years now without end. Now you're actually starting to see in the dugout, for cameras to show to the public, for all of us to see in real time, even he is fed up. After that Jazz mistake yesterday, he was chewing out Travis Chapman right in the dugout. You saw him take Jazz aside to have a talk with him. I hope it was as brutal as Jazz deserves. And you have to think, and I was thinking this in person, but Michael Kay said it too, and he was correct. I don't necessarily agree with everything Michael always has to say, but we never agree with everything that we have to say to each other, because nobody does. We're all different people, right? But this particular thing, Michael was right about, and I actually muttered it to my mother, my girlfriend, my brother, right when this was all happening, because this is what I was thinking. I was like, listen, when it happens to the degree that it happens, it makes him look bad too, and he's probably sick of it himself. Who wants to look like an idiot? Nobody. And this makes Boone, along with many others, look like idiots. I don't care how boneheaded Boone is. Everybody knows, especially myself, obviously, that I don't like the guy as a manager. I don't know him as a person. I'm sure he's a lovely person. I don't know him personally. I'm only judging as a manager because that's what I see. That's what I analyze with every game. Not a fan of the guy. I haven't made that a secret. But even he has to have a breaking point. Everybody does. When this happens to the degree that it has with the Yankees, even I would be caught doing that. Especially me. I'd be blowing a freaking gasket every day. It's the dumbest crap happening every day. And just when you think, after you see another abysmal, inconceivable mistake made by somebody on this team in some sort of way, anytime you think, oh, they can't do anything worse than that. They've outdone themselves. They do something worse the very next day. Very next day. It's like I'm living in a simulation with these guys. I've never seen anything like it. I have never seen anything like it with another squad. And I always joke around, like, oh, I guess they don't have the talent. I know these guys have the talent. This is not like 2023 when you had guys like Willie Calhoun on the roster. They should not be this laughably terrible. It's got to be mainly a mental thing right now. But, I mean, guys, how many weeks has this been going on now, this mental thing? How long until you get the hell out of it? How long? How many mistakes are we supposed to stomach? You're already playing with fire as it is. And all of these stupid errors and lapses in judgment and mistakes that you're making, no matter how it's made in the game, you see the effect it's having on the team right now and the standing that they are in. They are playing with fire, guys. They are 60-52. The Marlins just swept them in a 3-game set in Miami. That was the first time the Marlins have ever swept the Yankees in a 3-game set. Ever. Now the Yankees find themselves at 60-52. When we spoke last week, we were talking about how important this coming week is, not only because of the deadline, but because of the games they had coming up. Yes, they took care of business decently against Tampa. They won 3 out of 4. But they even had us sweating bullets at many moments in those games as well. And a game or two of that, when they won those 3 games, a game or two of those were by freak luck, it felt like, as well. And then they go right over to Miami after the deadline they had and just undo anything good they had in Tampa, or against Tampa, rather. Anything good was undone. We were talking about last week how the Red Sox are breathing down their necks, which is a disgrace in itself because the Yankees only have themselves to blame for letting them back into the dance in the first place, given how disgracefully they played against them months ago when the Yankees had an ungodly lead ahead of them, double digits plus. And now, guys, we sit on August 3rd after Yankees gameplay this weekend has been completed. The Red Sox lead the Yankees by a game and a half. They're in second place, 3 games behind the Blue Jays. The Rays are still in collapse mode. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Yankees. That helped. They didn't do very well against the Dodgers from what I understand. I know they lost against them yesterday and today. Friday, what happened? Friday the Dodgers beat them. Yes, yesterday the Rays won, and then today the Dodgers won. So the Dodgers did win 2 out of 3, so the Rays are still not doing hot at all. So they've stayed back. They're 5.5 games behind the Yankees. But the way the Yankees play, who knows what'll happen even there. So the Rays are decently back in 4th place, but I don't consider 5.5 games a massive lead with what the Yankees have done this year. The Yankees led everybody by at least 7.5 at one point. The Red Sox by 10 plus. Now the Red Sox are ahead of them by 1.5 games, and the Yankees are behind the Blue Jays by 4.5, because the Red Sox are behind the Blue Jays by 3, and the Yankees are now in 3rd place. Listen, I know there are a decent amount of games left. 112 games have been played. There are exactly 50 games left to go. And a lot can happen in 50 games. Hell, look what the Yankees allowed to happen inside of a month and a half. I understand, especially because, watching the Yankees this year, I certainly understand. A lot can happen in 50 games. But guys, that doesn't make this not disgraceful. 1.5 games behind a team you once led by about 10 plus. Everybody else by 7 plus. Blue Jays included. And they are 4.5 games ahead of the Yankees. And it doesn't end there, by the way. In case you weren't sick enough to your stomach about that, because the Yankees basically are in this situation at this point. They are pretty much just a wild card team at this point in time. You want to look to the wild card standings? It gets even worse, especially given the week we have ahead. Last Sunday, I was talking about the importance of keeping the Rays at bay so you don't fall into 4th place potentially. Now there's danger of even losing a playoff spot, period. And again, I don't care if there are 50 games left. The point is, who thought we would be muttering these words at all, given what was just a month and a half ago? Not that long ago. Who would have thought we would have been talking about potentially dropping out of a playoff spot for even a minute? That's the point of this, given what was before. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's going to end that way after the next 50 games, but who thought that we would even be having this discussion for a nanosecond? That's the point. So they're 1.5 games behind Boston. Because Boston's now ahead of them, Boston occupies the 1st wild card spot. The Yankees are now in the 2nd wild card spot, 1.5 games behind them, as I established before. Then 0.5 game behind the Yankees. 0.5 game. The Mariners now, who won again today against the Rangers, who are the Yankees' next opponent. Speaking of the Rangers, do you want to know who's after the Mariners, clawing their way, trying to at least, into that 3rd wildcard spot? Yeah, the Rangers. They're only 2 games back of the Mariners, who are only 0.5 game behind the Yankees. And the Yankees are playing the Rangers 3 times, tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday, in Texas, when they have less than a 3-game lead ahead of them. So if the Rangers take care of business, which I would not put it past them, because the Marlins, who are playing for complete and utter fun these days, took it to the Yankees this weekend. So I wouldn't put it past the Rangers to do the same, especially because they are not out of a playoff spot by any means. Only 2 games out of a 3rd wildcard spot with 50 to go. You damn well better be sure they are not nearly out of it yet. So they have even more to play for than the Marlins do. And the Yankees definitely have a lot more to play for and try to salvage here, especially given how good things were before, but they don't seem to have a sense of urgency like a lot of other teams tend to nowadays, so you can't really put them on the same plane as others. But if the Rangers handle business this week, if I was doing an episode next Sunday, which as I established last week, I am not going to be doing because I have that wedding next Sunday, and then the following Sunday I'm going to be prepping for my Series 7 retake, just a little bit of a reminder put into there. But if we were to be talking next Sunday, we could very well, or could have very well have ended up talking about a Yankees team that no longer even occupies a playoff spot in August. Would you have ever thought that we would be talking like this for even a minute? Again, I'm not saying this is how it's going to end up. I'm not saying the season's over, even though, the Yankees are literally so bad sometimes that you can't help but feel that feeling creeping up on you every now and again. But I'm not definitively saying the season's over with 50 left to go and the Yankees factually still occupying a playoff spot. I'm not saying it's going to last for how long, but they're still occupying one, so I'm not saying the season's over. But who would have thought that even for a second we're entertaining the idea of the Yankees not even occupying a playoff position? My God! Yeah. I don't know. I'm out of words, really. I just said a lot of words, but I'm when it comes to thinking of what to say about the situation they're in as far as this next week, I don't know what to say anymore. I'm out of words. The Rangers are coming up. I just cannot believe that if the Yankees don't take care of business in Texas, having a playoff spot at all is in jeopardy. The Mariners are about to knock the Yankees into the third wild card. This is a team that led the division by 7.5 games. What the hell happened? I know what happened, but what happened? Oh my God. It's just... I'm tapped out. Tapped out. 22 minutes into the show, I'm tapped out. I don't know, guys. We're talking about a team, guys that don't know to go back to first base after an infield pop-up. Talking about a team that loses track of how many outs there are when they're on the bases. We're talking about a team, there are so many mistakes, I can't even recall all of them. Again, mistakes that little leaguers don't make. I don't know. They only have themselves to blame. There's nobody else to blame. Nobody. And they're only proving that hypothetical claim from the World Series when they were talking about how the Dodgers viewed the Yankees. When the mindset was put out there that when it comes to the Yankees, just put the ball in play and they'll handle the rest. Who's going to say that that's wrong? It's not wrong. I struggle to find a statement that's been more true than that. I've just never seen a Yankee squad like this. That's why I said before, even if certain other Yankee squads since I started watching in the last 20 or so years have finished worse or done worse at certain points in seasons, whatnot, I have never felt the kind of dread before a game starts or the kind of frustration throughout the game on a daily basis nearly the way I felt with the 2025 squad. This team sucks. I don't even care that they're 8 games over 500. They're fortunate to be 8 games over 500. They're fortunate to even occupy a playoff spot right now. If they were in the National League, they'd be so freaking boned. I know it's a moot point to mention being in the National League when they're not. They are where they are, and the AL happens to be mostly weak. They're very fortunate for that is all I'm saying. They'd be boned if they weren't. You kidding me? Look at the National League wild card picture. Right now, the Yankees, they're out of a playoff spot if they're in the National League. By only a couple of games, yeah, but they're out of a playoff spot. And they're about to be in the American League, which makes it even more embarrassing because the American League is weaker. They're just falling and falling and falling. I was feeling really good. After, even if there were certain points of fortune and some grittiness mixed into there too, for sure. I don't want to completely discredit them for some of the wins against Tampa, but I mean, after they won 3 out of 4 with a series they desperately needed to not let yet another team back into a dance like Tampa, I mean, they did what they had to do there. I was feeling a little bit better. Be like, all right, listen, the deadline was what it was, and it was, I'll just say right now without getting into details before the next, segment or two, but it was really good. And they had what was supposed to be an easy series in Miami against a team playing for fun. And they get their asses swept, and here we are all over again. But my original point, guys, they're playing with fire. They truly are. You heard how close they are to losing a playoff spot? And they don't have to. They're not playing difficult teams right now, and so many of their losses are just due to their own foolishness. It's nobody else's fault. The pitching imploding, the defense imploding, lack of fundamentals, base running gaffes, the whole night, you name it. The Yankees do it all. And it contributes to a bunch of their losses and therefore contributes to where they are right now. It's not a complicated equation. It's not. Just like depressed over it, man. I actually cannot believe the Red Sox overtook them. That is legitimately and factually insane that the Red Sox are ahead of them right now. There's just no defense of any of it. There's no defense. If you're trying to defend what the Yankees have done, or, you're one of the toxic optimists out there, I mean, listen, you gotta face reality. You can still say that you believe in them to at least make the playoffs, but I mean, to crap on people who are giving the Yankees a hard time, you're just not accepting of reality at that point. This is some of the most disgraceful Yankees baseball for weeks on end, especially when you consider how long it's been going on for consecutively. Some of the most disgraceful Yankees baseball not only I've ever seen, but that I've ever even heard of since the dark ages, from like the mid-'80s into the early mid-'90s. I mean, seriously, it's gotten so brutal. It's embarrassing. It's really humiliating. I've certainly never felt, especially to the degree that I have this year, the kind of dread that I feel before a game starts. I'm not even excited for a game to come on anymore. I'm actually going to have to figure something out now that I think about it when I'm going into my next point here. But I'm actually going to the Yankee game on the 24th, which is when I'm intending on doing my next Yapping Yankees episode on 3 Sundays from now. But I might actually have to do the recording the day before on Saturday, if I could even pull that off. I don't know. I might just have to do it later that night when I get back from the Yankee game. But I'll figure something out. I'll make sure I get an episode out on the 24th somehow, even if I have to do a shorter episode. But I mean, I'm going to the game on the 24th, and these only just got secured, so that's why I didn't have this news last week. It's just in the last couple of days that I got this official news that me, my dad, my brother, and my family were going to the Yankee game on the 24th, 3 Sundays from now, when the Yankees face the Red Sox at Yankee Stadium. Speaking of Boston, right? I'm going to that game, and I'm not even remotely kidding. I don't even want to go. I haven't been to a game this year. The only baseball game at all that I've been to this year was when we were in Japan and we went to the Tokyo Dome. That's it. And I'm perfectly content with that. I actually did want to go to Citi Field. It's been so long since I've been there, but I wanted to go to Citi Field earlier in the year and it just never got to happen. But when it comes to going to a Yankee game, I don't even want to go. I don't. The only reason that I'm going is because, my dad was nice enough to secure tickets for us, and we have good seats like we always do, and we go with him, and it's time with family. And I do want that, and I value that. But otherwise, I don't want to go. For the game, I don't want to go. I don't want to see the Yankees right now. I don't. I have no interest. If it was just like me and Victoria going, if it was just like the two of us, like we've done for basically all of the games the last bunch of times I've gone. But if it was just the two of us, we would sell the tickets. Or we just wouldn't show up. I don't want to go. I've never said that before. I have never said that. The only other time that I really said that was when I said I had no interest in going, like around the time that, like, still we were sort of transitioning out of COVID when they were allowing like some fans in like the 2020 playoffs and then into 2021 when it was the limited crowds and whatnot. And 2022, like I was still feeling a little weird about it, but then I started to get back into it. But really, other than that time period, and that was for different reasons entirely, obviously. But when it comes to solely with the Yankees gameplay, even in 2013 and 14 and 16, those years, and even 15, they made the wild card game that year. But like, even those years when things were bad, I still had interest in going to the games. I was younger, yeah, that probably plays a factor. I was still a teenager during those years, but like, I still wanted, a part of me wanted to go. I don't know if I'm just older now and like generally less tolerant or less patient. I don't know, maybe that could have a factor in it, but like, I can't remember a team that has been so blatantly horrible that shouldn't be so blatantly horrible. To the point where I genuinely don't want to go to the game. I don't want to go on the 24th. And that makes me really sad to say that. I don't know, man. I just cannot believe how bad they are. I cannot believe it. Struggling is one thing, but when you factor in how long it's been going on and the reasons for their struggling, like their lack of fundamentals and blatant incomprehensible mistakes, that's another story entirely. Just renders me speechless nearly on a daily basis. One of my brother's closest friends who I love dearly, he is one of the most optimistic fans I know. Not toxically, but he's very optimistic. Even he's been completely speechless. That's really one I know, and I check in with him, and he's like that. So I know I'm not crazy. It's genuinely probably the most frustrating Yankees squad I've ever watched. And that's with 2023. But, 2023, as miserable as it was, yeah, and they only finished with the low 80s in wins. Yeah, that was horrible. They missed the playoffs. But even that had like a bright spot to it. Cole won the Cy Young. And Judge, even though he missed a bunch of time, like he still hit almost 40 home runs in just a little bit over 100 games. Like, I don't know, man. And they were just coming off the heels of Judge doing what he did with the home runs in 2022 with 62 bombs. And I know this year they're coming off the World Series, but that honestly, the fact that they're coming off the World Series makes this year even more irritating because of that context. So that actually doesn't help now that I think about it. The fact that they're coming off the World Series, especially given what happened in the World Series, for the entire world to see, for the single most embarrassing inning in the history of the World Series, and they come out the very next year playing even more so like boneheads. And more frequently like that. So that actually, now that I think about it in real time, the fact that they made the World Series last year actually makes this even worse. I just look up and down this team. I really don't know. I'm at a loss. Look up and down this lineup. Like Grish, I'm still happy with Grish. I mean, he just hit his 20th home run today, guys. That's 3 more than his season high, single season high for home runs that he's ever had in his career. The most he ever hit in a season before this was 17. Now he's at 20 with 50 games left to go. For a guy who was intended to be a fourth outfielder, say what you want about the guy. He's basically batting like 250, OPS in the low to mid 800s. RBI is going to be at 50 before long. 20-plus home runs already with as much of the season left to go as there is. And the defense that he provides for you. Grisham's had a fine season. No matter how upset you are with the rest of the Yankees, this is one of the guys this year, honestly, and I'm very happy with him. Rice, he's given you versatility. I mean, with the bat, yeah, a lot of times he hits into bad luck, but lately with the bat, there's been a bit to be desired. He hasn't been bad the last 7 games, but I don't know. Just nothing to blow you out of the water. The numbers have started to go down a bit, but the power's still there. You can still see it. But nothing blowing your hair back there. I mean, it's not bad, though. Goldschmidt, he's begun to slow down a little bit again recently. But I don't know. I still find it difficult to get really mad at him. I mean, yeah, he's 8 for his last 45, 2 for his last 19. Makes his occasional mistakes on defense, but I mean, how much crap has he saved this year as it is? I mean, Again, can only get so mad at the guy. He had a pinch hit appearance at the end of the game today. Bellinger, talking about a bright spot on the team, especially with Judge out right now. He's basically one of the only others, if not the only other bright spot on the entire team. I mean, he's been awesome. Last few games, he's slowed down again a tad. But on the whole, you want to argue that Cody, for the vast majority of the last bunch of weeks, even months, you want to argue that he hasn't been one of the better hitters and overall players on the team, because he has. And I appreciate the hell out of that. You guys all know that I'm one of the biggest Cody supporters out there. I have been ever since the trade with the Cubs was made over the winter. And I predicted huge things for him, even if he's not doing as irrationally of the huge things as I anticipated, because the things that I really predicted were irrational. But he is still having himself a fine-ass season, man. Can't be mad at that. Versatility, good defense, doing good with the bat. Stanton continues to be really good since he returned. I'm still having a fun time watching him. Last couple of weeks, 15 games, he's still batting like 300. Overall numbers, batting average still floating around 270, 9 homers, 26 RBIs, and 123 at-bats, OPS in the mid-800s. So Stanton's doing it. He's doing the thing. And Judge should be back in the next couple of days while I'm on the subject of Stanton. I just mentioned Judge briefly before. But with Judge coming back in the next couple of days, I did mention what the Yankees had talked about on last week's episode. I did mention that with Judge coming back apparently in the next couple of days against the Rangers, from what they say, Tuesday or Wednesday, I assume as soon as he could be reactivated is when he'll come back. But when he comes back, he's going to be spending the first bunch of days DHing, as we'd spoken about last Sunday. And Stanton, they were saying, could probably get some outfield time. I don't know how that's going to end up turning out. I don't know if it's going to come to fruition. It probably will. But after so many years of Stanton not playing the outfield, again, Yankees' fault. But I know Stanton was getting hurt as well. I know that has a lot to do with it, but he gets hurt whether or not he's in the outfield. So what freaking difference does it make? I know he's probably got tree stumps for legs by now. You see the clips lately of him taking reps out there in anticipation of probably playing some outfield when Judge comes back. But again, whose fault is that? The Yankees years ago wanted to make him a full-time DH. He came over from Miami being a fine fielder. Couldn't figure something out, and that's that. So, anyways, we'll see what happens with Stanton in the coming days. Probably getting some reps in the outfield, but he's been good still since coming back. Jazz, he's an annoying player, man. Because on one hand, in the last 7 games, he hasn't really been doing too much offensively. He's batting under 200 in his last 7 games. Overall, his numbers are not bad. Average in the mid to high 240s. He's 1 home run off 20. For him, that's not bad. RBI is over 50. OPS in the 800s. You look at a lot of his stats, they're not bad, but he's a very frustrating player because in that same token, he's doing stupid crap again at second base defensively. Granted, the fact that that is his best position, his primary position, he's doing stupid crap over there, so that's freaking annoying. And then he does the kind of crap that he does yesterday on the bases when he doesn't know to get back to first base after an infield pop-up. It's enough to make you tear every last follicle of your hair out of your skull. So yeah, Jazz will do a good thing every once in a while. He's good for that. But then he just has his head up his ass. He just does. That's the kind of player he is. So it's very frustrating. Jason had some nice plays in left field recently, although still making mistakes out there, but nice plays out there recently. Not doing bad with the bat at all his last 7 games, 375 average. Again, his hits tend to come in bunches. 263 average, 9 homers, 37 RBIs, 742 OPS. Again, could be better, but since he's still young and learning, I cut him some slack. But could be better. Nothing to blow your hair back, but not bad. Has his rough looks every now and again, but who on this team friggin' doesn't? If we're being honest. At least he has the excuse that this is his first full season, his rookie year. You have that excuse to use. Who else do you have that excuse with? I don't know, man. My God. Ryan McMahon. Guess I'll hit him next. I'm just going by today's lineup and then whoever else after that. But McMahon, I mean, listen, you want to talk about a guy who it doesn't appear like the pinstripes are too heavy for? Went 0 for 4 today. But he's come up in some big freaking moments since coming to the Yankees. He's come up in big moments, late game moments where he's coming up in vital situations with runners on. He gets the job done, and then forget about his defense at third base, which is really the main reason they got him for. And with how dumb this team is the vast majority of the time with how they play with basic moments in baseball games, like I said, that was probably the main motivation of getting him, just helping out with the basics, with defense, with fundamentals. And it's good to have a guy like him on the team because he does help with that. His defense is stellar. Only key Brian Hayes, in a lot of defensive metrics at third base, is a better defensive third baseman. And he also got dealt at the deadline, by the way, but that's besides the point. So McMahon, you're getting good defense. He's come through in a lot of big moments. It's hard to be mad at him, so it's good to have him so far. And again, another guy under control for a little while after this year again. But for the rest of the guys, how about Volpe and Wells? Well, Volpe, I have to say, the last week, he's had some big moments as well. His home runs are now up to 17 homers. And in the last week, his batting average is back up to 300 in his last 7 games. He's had some big homers in the last few games. But again, with him, it comes in bunches, then he goes back to sleep. So, again, like I said a week or two ago when talking about him, I give credit where credit is due. That home run he had to tie the game against Miami the other day, when tied at 10, was straight up aura farming. That was badass as hell, I have to say. The way the sweet swing was the best swing I've probably ever seen him have in his entire career so far, to be honest. And the way the bat flip and just the calming down motion he did after that, I mean, just aura farming. It really, just awesome. I have to give him that. And the hitting has been there. The hitting has been there in the last week or so. It has been. For a decent chunk since the All-Star break, it's been there, but he's had plenty of slow moments since then, too. He's up and down and up and down. Comes in bunches. One thing I will say is that he is nearing his single-season home run total. He has 21 in his rookie year in 23. And he has 17 now. And he has tied his single-season high for RBIs already with 50 games to go. So he is going to have the most RBIs he's ever had in a season this year. Unless he has like a catastrophic season-ending injury like tomorrow. But each of his last 2 years, first 2 years of his career, he actually finished with 60 on the dot both seasons, which is kind of impressive, to be honest. But this year already, on August 30, he has 60. So he's going to pass that. There's some growth there. Probably going to have around the same amount of walks, give or take, and probably the same amount of strikeouts, or maybe more, actually, which is a regression. He's going to have less stolen bases with more caught stealing. So again, regression on the base paths. He is still awful defensively, made plenty of crucial errors again this past week, which that's supposed to be his strength, so that's really bad. And a couple of home runs here and there are not going to save that again. So it's just as good as he's been at times this past week, 2 weeks maybe, it's not good enough to excuse a lot of the inexcusable crap that still happens with him every now and again. It's just not. I'm sorry. It's still frustrating to watch him, even when he does the good things, and I give credit where credit is due gladly. Still frustrating. I just hope he at least figures out the defense, because I'll take at least a decent chunk, not all of it, because when he's bad at hitting, I mean, he is about as bad as anybody. But I'll take him being an hitter if the defense is stellar. I'll take it. I've said that many times. But with even the defense being awful, as bad as it's been this year, and it's definitely in his head, but still, I mean, it doesn't change anything. It's still awful. In reality, it doesn't change anything. Awful. Terrible. And on the base paths, he has regressed overall. Not good. I need more. I like what he's done hitting-wise last week, but if he's going to be as awful as he is with the strengths of his game, or what's supposed to be his strengths, I need the hitting to be even better. Just being honest. Need it to be. I expect more of him. Austin Wells, I mean, he has just been very frustrating. Between not knowing how many outs there were on the bases the other night, earlier in the week, just the definition of inexcusable. I've said for weeks now, that if he hits like 20-plus home runs and gives you like 70, 80 RBIs as a catcher, I take that, and if the defense is there, yeah. But the defense has got to continue to be there. At times, it's not. At times. Doesn't do anything crazy impressive, at least. The bat, I mean, especially if he's going to start to contribute to just doing unbelievably stupid things like he did on the base paths, then obviously what he's doing in that sense is not going to be enough And the amount of offense he does provide, just, it's not enough to excuse the stupid crap. It's not. So another guy I need more from. And there are just certain aspects of his game, like just from plate appearance to plate appearance, just very frustrating, some of his at-bats, the swing choices he has. It's just so frustrating. But that's the case with the vast majority of the guys. What the hell am I even saying, to be honest? Then you have the bench. You have guys like Austin Slater, who they also acquired at the deadline, mainly for hitting against lefties and being a substitution in the outfield if need be. But, I mean, that's the main deal right now, guys. I mean, Peraza's gone. That's a part of the trade deadline that we can talk about in a bit. Caballero's here from the deadline as well. I mean, that's the vast majority of the offense. When it comes to pitching, I mean, it's good to know that despite what was done at the deadline, I mean, bullpen still suffers. Especially Friday. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But the bullpen, I mean, you still feel the way you mostly do about that. In the starting rotation, I mean, Fried is still not quite himself. Rodon's kind of up and down these days. He'll go a bunch of innings like the other night. Go a bunch of innings without allowing any hits, but then he'll have a bad moment in the game, or he'll allow a couple of balls to leave the ballpark. And you have the Will Warrens of the world. I mean, they'll be just inconsistent. Stroman, who's more news on him as well. You know the deal with him. And now Heel is back, finally. We'll talk about him in a second as well. And he's what you thought he would be after missing a whole year up to this point and only just making his debut in August. There's rustiness there, which you expect. There's no facet of this team, other than the offense, most of the time, that you feel really good about. On paper, they should be better. They should be. And maybe things will improve at least a bit when Judge comes back in a couple of days. But guys, my God in heaven, has it been awful. That's really all I got to say. I don't have any more desire to go more in-depth on the players than I have already. And listen, the offense does their thing most of the time. They do. And they're very resilient, even if it's in a low-scoring effort. Whenever the pitching screws up, they have been very resilient in trying to at least come back or tie the game. They do what they got to do most of the time. But, I mean, the last couple of days, it's hard to get mad at them because, they're not going to be good every day. And they're not going to be able to be resilient every day. And the pitching has screwed them over or spit in their face so many times. And I don't blame the batters for giving them the bird every few days. I don't blame them. Yesterday was the real quiet day. They still managed to score 3 runs today. But the Yankees were also pretty decently buried kind of early on in today's game as it was. I mean, it was already 6-1 by the 4th inning. I mean, other teams, i.e. the Marlins, other teams find it perfectly possible to come back with deficits like that, like, on Friday. But the Yankees don't do that, you see. I know they've had their comebacks in the last month or so, but you get the point of what I'm trying to make. 6-1, the Yankees probably are just going to roll over. And they did. So the bats are going to have their days. That's all I got to say, guys. I don't really know. I guess we can jump to news first because the real topic of discussion that everybody wants to talk about is truly the deadline. Then we could just brush through this last week's games real quick before a quicker social media segment because I kind of did the social media segment this week, like kind of weird this week. So not a lot of people saw it, but I still got at least a few replies back that I can hit on. But before we get to the weekly recap, I figured we'd talk about the deadline because that's the real piece of discussion I think everybody wants to hit on and hear my points of view on that. So Yankees news, why don't we move on to it? And a lot did happen this past week, guys, particularly with the deadline. And I do have to say, as I alluded to before, the Yankees did have a very good deadline. Despite everything that has happened since then, being 0-3 in many regards, some of the most disgraceful ways possible since then, doesn't change the fact that the deadline itself, and it can be tough to level-headedly say this, especially after the last 3 days, but the deadline itself that the Yankees had was very successful. It was good. It was really solid. Many of the areas of need were very well addressed, and you came out of it feeling really good. And it started on Wednesday, where some moves continued after the original two that we already spoke about, Ryan McMahon and Ahmed Rosario. So Wednesday, the Yankees had acquired veteran outfielder Austin Slater. Briefly mentioned him before in the open of the show. They got him from the White Sox in exchange for minor league right-hander Gage Zeal. He was the 18th ranked prospect for the Yankees. And the Yankees are his fifth team, actually. Fun fact about Slater. The Yankees are his fifth team since the start of last season, 2024. So he's been around the block. He's hitting .236, came into the Yankees hitting .236 with a .721 OPS. 5 home runs in his prior 51 games with the White Sox, and he was a career .270 hitter, .362 on base, .436 slugging, that's a slash line, against left-handed pitchers, which is very good. And that's his specialty. So they bought him in with the intention of getting more depth in the outfield, especially with Aaron Judge out right now, and also with getting another hitter who is very capable of hitting left-handed pitching as a righty, because the Yankees have a surplus of left-handed hitters these days, as we know. We've spoken about it for many weeks, and that's still the case. So get all the righties you can, and Slater adds to that bunch. So in order to add him to the roster, the Yankees had actually optioned J.C. Escarra to put an end to the 3-catcher situation as well. I was also talking about that in the last couple of episodes, saying the Yankees are going to have to do something, and probably would around the deadline, and, well, here you go. But J.C. Escarra is no longer around, so you have Wells and Rice as your catchers now, and Austin Slater there for outfield depth, and another option off the bench to hit against a lefty. Thursday was the day filled with the true adventure, which would also make Friday as incomprehensible as it was. But anyway, Thursday was the day. They started off their trading. Now, the first half of the day went by and nothing really happened. And we've been through this rodeo a few times, even just the last few years in recent history alone, as Yankee fans, saying, well, I guess, especially because of the 2023 and last year's trade deadline, Cashman really didn't do all that much. The last 2-3 years, not too much happened. But when that seemed to be the way it went down, like around, it was like noon, 1 in the afternoon, like, around that time period on Thursday, nothing had gone on yet. And Slater was like pretty much the last move they made. We were basically all like, and I saw my Twitter timeline, everyone was like, well, I guess this is going to go like all the others. I was holding the faith that like something would happen, because they really said they were going to go all in, and I know Cashman's talked out of his ass before. It wouldn't be nearly the first time. But you never know if like trading was going to slow down, because like certain teams may not think that they're out of the playoff race necessarily because of the third wild card yet. Some teams may decide not to sell. Maybe what the Yankees are offering up is not enough for them, and then deal falls through that they had maybe cooking up. Like, you never know what's going on behind the scenes 100% of the time, especially in real time. So we were just basically saying, oh, well, I guess it's going to be like the last couple of trade deadlines. Nothing's going down. But then eventually, it was announced, and it was creeping up on it, saying that the Yankees were really hot in on it, especially because a lot of relievers like Helsley and many others are flying off the market. They were just getting traded, and things were moving. Like Helsley went to the Mets. Duran went to the Phillies. Like all these names that we spoke about on last week's episode and that everybody was talking about, everybody was being moved, and the Yankees weren't doing anything. They were saying the Yankees were in deep contact with the Pirates about Bednar, and then that would end up coming through as the Yankees' first move. They acquired the Pirates closer, David Bednar, for their number 8 prospect, catcher, first baseman Rafael Flores, and 2 other prospects. That's it. And that's for Bednar, who has been as amazing as he has been for months now this year. High throwing, fastball, high velocity, and just a really one of the game's top closers for months now. And to boot, he is under team control through the end of next season. So there's that as well, making him even more worthwhile. And the Yankees only have to give up at most their number 8 prospect, not touching anybody in their top 5 or even top 7. A lot of names on that chart that are still there right now that I'm surprised didn't end up going at all, let alone even in just this Bednar trade. So that was really, really, I was just so psyched up about that. Everybody was. So that finally gave everybody the fire that we were waiting on, just something, a big move being made, especially in regards to the bullpen. I mean, how much has the bullpen suffered? How much have we spoken about that? So there's that. And then not long after that, another deal filtered through. Jake Bird from the Rockies. Now, high ERA guy, and strangely enough, his ERA was lower at Coors Field than away stadiums, which is very, very interesting, to be sure. But despite all of that, there's some positive attributes about him. He's a high strikeout guy, so welcome to the Matt Blake lab in that regard. Got really good stuff, breaking stuff, good fastball. And when you're talking about team control, mentioned that before with Bednar, how about with this? Bird isn't a free agent until 2028. So all of that stuff factored in, having a great pitching arsenal, leading him to being a high strikeout guy. And we all know what happens there when it comes to sinker ballers or guys who have just really good fastballs, throw high velocity and good breaking stuff as well. We all know what kind of magic Matt Blake has worked with guys like that in the near past. I mean, in the very recent past, as a matter of fact. So welcome in that regard. And if he's going to be a solid reliever for you and you want to keep him, well, he's under your control until 2028. So a lot of positives to be had there. Didn't really have to give up much at all in that trade as well. And then the Yankees also announced that they had traded for Peraza. Now, at this point, we were really leading up towards the trade deadline, towards 6 o'clock. But the Yankees had traded Oswald Peraza to the Angels. Now, that was not a surprise at all because, after acquiring McMahon and Rosario, I was thinking, there's so many infield options now. They got to clear a couple of people off at least. So Peraza was that victim for the trade deadline, and I'm completely fine with that, to be honest. They ended up getting a guy named Wilberson DePena back, along with international bonus pool money. And we all know how much the Yankees love that international money. So they're big on signing the international prospects. So not surprised to see that. So they got the international money and DePena from the Angels, and got to clear off some infield log jamming by dumping off Peraza. And I'm sorry to see him go, guys, but we all know how disappointed I am in him, morbidly this year, with how he really could have just taken any infield position he wanted, second, third base, anything from, he could have just had it from the balls, to be honest. And he didn't hit at all. He had a good arm and had good defensive plays every now and again, but even he had his fair share of defensive blunders, and he screwed the pooch for himself. He really did. But with that being said, I got nothing against Peraza personally, obviously, and I don't wish anything bad on him. No ill will whatsoever. Hope he does well with the Angels and adopts to his new environment well. Less pressure out west. Who knows? But it just wasn't working out here. Years of injuries and just underwhelming gameplay, especially in 2025 when he really could have made a huge difference and really just taken second base, third base, anything really, and made it his. He just choked it up. So best of luck to Peraza, but he's over in LA now. Then, if you thought it was done at that point, I thought it was probably done by then. Got a couple of relievers, especially Bednar. That's really solid. Who knows what it'll be of Jake Bird. Maybe Matt Blake could figure something out with him and get him to be an even more lethal pitcher than he showed at times with his high strikeout stuff. And then dumping off an infielder that you really needed to because of the infield logjam. I was like, all right, well, that's probably it. In that case, it's really, if they don't get a starter at that point, then it's, they address the bullpen, but it's all right, I guess. But then the crazy and funny ones came in. They got Camilo Duvall from the Giants, first of all. Only giving up Jesus Rodriguez, Parks Harbor, and Tristan Vreeling, and one other player for Duvall. Hard-throwing, lethal reliever from the San Francisco Giants, who I never imagined would be a Yankee. Unreal. I could not believe that move when I saw it. Could not believe it. And nobody else could either. The Yankee community erupted after seeing that. So even more bullpen help, let alone someone as sick as Duvall, alongside someone like Bednar. I mean, it's just epic. Epic crap.
Give me a hell yeah!
Yeah, I'm pretty sure just about everybody was saying hell yeah after that. So they got Duvall, which was beyond anybody's expectations. Just sick. So happy about that. I couldn't even believe it. I was just sitting there in shock. I was on my way to meet my brother and my dad for dinner when that happened. I was just in the car in shock. Like jaw on the ground for like 20 minutes. But then before I could even do that, now this is really the funny one. The Duvall move was the crazy one, obviously. The funny one was when the Yankees actually traded for Jose Caballero while they were playing the Rays, and Caballero was a Ray, as many of us know, while they were playing the Rays in a very rare example of a mid-game trade between two teams currently playing each other. The Yankees took Jose Caballero mid-game from the Rays for Everson Pereira, and at the time a player to be named later. So all in all, guys, with an entire trade deadline recap, they got Ryan McMahon and Ahmed Rosario, both of whom we discussed last Sunday. Then they got Austin Slater for some more outfield depth and a righty who hits lefties extremely well. And then just hours, all the way up to like a half hour until the deadline when it was riding up towards 6 o'clock, they get elite closer from the Pirates, David Bednar, who you also have for next year. They get Jake Bird, high strikeout guy, to also help out in the bullpen, who you have under team control until 2028, bro. You dump off Peraza for a prospect and international money. I mean, again, we know how much the Yankees love their international money, but not to also insult Peraza or anything, but part of me is surprised they got anything more than a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos for him, if I'm being really honest. I mean, maybe, again, change of scenery, less pressure, who knows? We've seen it happen. Maybe he finds his way in L.A., gets more playing time as well, and comes into his own. Who knows? That's happened with certain guys, but we all know how morbidly disappointing his time on the Yankees was. That's the point. But actually getting a return for him, just very nice. A return of any kind. You take it. Then, the completely unexpected. We all, again, thought that it was basically done with Bednar and Jake Bird. They'd considered their relief help that they so desperately needed. They got good depth for the infield and some outfield depth with Slater. No. They go and get another demon of a reliever in flame-throwing Camilo Duvall. Shocking me to within an inch of my life. I still can't believe it. And they go ahead and get a really solid and versatile defender who was tied for the MLB lead in stolen bases at the time he was traded, in Jose Caballero from the Rays, while in the middle of playing the Rays. I mean, yeah, it's funny. You can laugh. But right in the middle of playing them, you get Jose Caballero. I mean, he was legit saying goodbye to his teammates at the end there. It's just wild. So ultimately, bullpen beyond bolstered, which was the biggest need, I think we could argue. Top 2 or 3 defensive third basemen in baseball who, if he gives any offense, which he has early on with them here, especially in big moments, is huge in Ryan McMahon. Solid and much needed right-handed hitting depth for the infield and outfield in Rosario and Slater, respectively. Same goes for Caballero for the infield and partially the outfield, along with tons of speed, particularly on the bases, pretty much being one of the leaders in all of baseball in stolen bases. At that point, all that's missing is a starter. But even so, all of that, when you think about it, all of those acquisitions at the deadline, without giving up a single elite prospect. Nothing, as I said before, in the top 7. Rafael Flores, catcher and first baseman at number 8, was the highest they gave in the Bednar trade. And that's mainly because the Pirates have been looking for that sort of help for a long time, some solid catching help. So it works out for them, works out for the Yankees. Both areas addressed for each team. That was the highest they gave. No Jason, no Rice, as far as big league ready talent right now. No Jones, no Lombard Jr., no Schlittler, who they only just called up. None of the other top guys like LaGrange or Cunningham or Rodriguez, Cruz, Ben Hess, or even anybody else like Roderick Arias. Like, nobody else. Everybody's still here. Even after all of those objectively solid acquisitions. So honestly, really, really good deadline. I know that after what happened the last 3 days since then, it's tough to feel that way or feel much of anything positive for the team. I understand that. But I think we could all universally agree, particularly at that time and therefore level-headedly right now, despite the last 3 days, that the deadline the Yankees had in and of itself was really solid. The only thing that was missing was a starter. And you hope that after some time when he reacquaints himself after making his debut today, that Luis Gil ends up being some sort of a boost for the rotation where you could at least have 3 pretty decent starters in Fried, Rodon, and him. You don't absolutely bet on it because he did miss a long time, and sometimes when guys miss that much time, they're not the same after. You hope that he finds at least some semblance of his 2024 self, Luis Gil. But at least for the rest of the year, he'll be fresh. He's had a lot of time off, so there's that. And you hope that he could be that. You don't bet on it, but you hope he can. Otherwise, the rotation will still be in some trouble just being out of guys, really. But solid deadline, man. My letter grade for it, to be honest, was a B+. And if they had gotten a starter of any kind, but especially a top-tier one, although not too many starters are moving around in this market, so that's why it wasn't too big of a surprise. You didn't really see that either. But if they'd gotten a starter, oh my God, easily in the A's. Easily. Best deadline, even without the starter. This is the best deadline the Yankees have had in years. I mean, they haven't had a good one in at least a couple of years. The last couple were duds. Which is why when things were going into like the mid-afternoon-ish, where not much was happening yet, that's why people were starting to have a heart attack. Because, we were thinking again, like nothing big. So there you go. So McMahon addressing the lack of defense and fundamentals and helping you out with a laughable left side of the infield before he got here. And everybody else doing their thing as well. Good depth. I mean, they really tackled depth. This team's probably got as good of depth as I've seen a Yankee team have in a good amount of years, honestly, in years. So all that was solved. They addressed the bullpen, which needed more help than just about any other facet of this team. Solid. Really, really good deadline, have to be honest. As a result, obviously, a bunch of roster moves had to be made, given all the new additions. De Los Santos and Hamilton were optioned later that day. Then on Friday, De Los Santos was doing a pretty good job. That's how you know that they just made the acquisitions that they did and they were as good as they were because someone like De Los Santos had to get sent down. Ian Hamilton, more understandable, but nonetheless, they were sent down. Then on Friday, this was one that I didn't see coming. Overdue, in my opinion, but still didn't see coming. They released Marcus Stroman.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
New sound effect. The sound effect library is ever growing on Yapping Yankees, even after 260 episodes. But yeah, thank you, Palpatine there. Certainly a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Overdue. But Marcus Stroman finally gone. I mean, it is a little interesting because, again, we've just been talking for weeks about how the Yankees' rotation has just continued to run out of arms. But you also had Luis Gil just reactivated, as I said. So there's that. I guess they felt comfortable with doing that in light of Gil returning. I mean, listen, he could have been, he meaning Stroman, but he could have been a lot worse since his return from the injured list than how it turned out. I won't argue that, but I mean, despite that, we all know the kind of pitcher Stroman is, especially at this stage of his career. So I'm perfectly okay with this. It is what it is, and they have Gil coming back. They don't need Stroman anymore. Overdue, but it's done. There you go. And then today, speaking of Gil, today was the official day that they did reactivate him off the 60-day injured list. The release of Stroman allowed that to happen because a 40-man spot was open. He made his 2025 debut today. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And Jonathan Loaisiga was placed on the 15-day injured list today with right mid-back tightness. I'm just in a state of shock to read that, I got to tell you. Disappointment over Loaisiga just never ceases to amaze me in 2025. Just very depressing. So sad. Honestly, it's so sad. But he hit the 15-day again, so he's hurt again. Whether or not it's a phantom IL stint, I leave that up to your opinion. But Loaisiga gone yet again. Just freaking shocked. As far as other Yankees injuries, just to update on that front, any other updates that we should be imminently expecting. So there's Loaisiga, we just spoke about him. You got Mark Leiter Jr. still with that stress fracture, and he's expected to actually come back this week as well. So he threw 16 pitches in a minor league rehab appearance yesterday, and they're expecting him to be reactivated along with Aaron Judge in the Texas series at some point. Although they're still just mulling over whether or not he's going to make another minor league rehab appearance. But either way, Leiter Jr. is very close to returning within days of doing so. Then the same thing for Judge. Probably going to see him in a couple of days. I think they mentioned Tuesday or Wednesday for him. So they'll be deciding that, I suppose. But he did take live at-bats this weekend, and he is eligible to return on the 5th, on Tuesday. So that'll probably be when they reactivate him. So they're going to be resuming him throwing as well between August 8th and the 13th. That'll be the time window they do that, at which point after that they'll probably put him back in right field. But in the meantime, as we've spoken about, he'll be DHing. Fernando Cruz, he threw from a mound on August 1st. It was his first time doing so, and he felt really good. So that's the latest update on him. He's just working his way back from that high-grade left oblique strain. And you got Ryan Yarbrough as well. He's resumed his throwing from the bullpen mounds, so he's just building his stamina up as he just tries to get higher pitch counts with those kinds of sessions before starting a rehab assignment at some point. The Yankees obviously expect him back at some point to help out with the rotation on top of Luis Gil, but we'll see. He's definitely been slower building than they originally anticipated, so there's that. And then everybody else is pretty much out for the rest of the year, as we know. The rest of the other names we've spoken about week after week after week. So the ones really to talk about right now, Loaisiga, who just went down, Mark Leiter Jr. and Aaron Judge, who are both about to be reactivated in a matter of days, at some point in the middle of this week probably. Then you have Fernando Cruz, who's feeling really good, thrown from a mound, and then you have Ryan Yarbrough. Everybody else is done for the year. So there's that in Yankees news, guys, latest roster news, and all the trade deadline happenings, very excitingly so, later in the day on Thursday, mainly just within the last hour or so leading up to the trade deadline, all the flurry of moves and roster moves to follow that the Yankees made. So exciting stuff there. And then you unfortunately had this weekend take place shortly after that. So I guess this is a good time to talk about this past week, right? Let's breeze through a quick weekly recap. Yankees time machine. Let's go.
This is where the fun begins.
No, Anakin. No, it's not. It is not where the fun begins at all. All right, Monday. Yankees and Rays. Cam Schlittler took the mound. Didn't look too good. 4 1/3, 7 hits, 3 runs, 4 walks. Struck out 5, so stuff didn't look brutal. I mean, it still moves well. It's just the Rays got a good handle on it. Jumped down on him right away in the first inning for 2 runs on a Caminero 2-run shot. Yankees came back and tied the game at 2 on 2 bases loaded walks by Jazz and McMahon. So that tied it at 2, but then the Rays took the lead back 3-2 in the top of the 5th and added on 4-2 in the top of the 8th. The Yankee offense died. Nothing else came of it, and that was that. So a couple of bases loaded walks was the Yankee offense that night. Certainly good amount of blown scoring opportunities. So offense took a night off that night. But again, hard to blame them, really, with how much the pitching has screwed them over of late, so there's that. Tuesday came around, and things were not looking too hot in the earlier part of the game. Once again, Fried was on the mound, and between Yankees errors and Fried not quite looking like himself, yeah, off to a rough start was the beginning of the game. 2-run triple in the top of the first by Johnny DeLuca put the Rays up 2-0 right away, and part of that was the fault of Anthony Volpe on a grounded ball by Aranda. Volpe made a throwing error. So, like I was talking about with Volpe before, that was part of the reason why that 2-run triple happened. So that's just fantastic, isn't it? And then Aranda homered in the top of the third to make it 3-0 solo shot. So obviously A couple of those runs in the first were unearned. That was part of Fried's unearned pitching line. But then Cody, thank God for him, ties the game at 3 with a 3-run tank in the bottom of the third. That reignited things. Volpe RBI single put them in the lead 4-3. Then on a stolen base and a throwing error by Nick Fortes on the Rays, on the stolen base was a double steal by Volpe and Wells. That allowed another run to score, made it 5-3 on the throwing error. And then Paul Goldschmidt RBI single made it 6-3. Rays came creeping back a little bit. RBI double by Taylor Walls. Volpe's solo shot made it 7-4. 15th homer of the year. That was his first of 3 this past week. Then on a force-out play in the top of the ninth, the Rays would score once again to make it 7-5, and that was when Devin Williams was in the game and giving us all another heart attack, thinking that the bullpen was going to blow yet another game. But fortunately, he locked it down, sealed the deal. Yankees won 7-5. Final line for Max Fried, who would get his 12th win of the year on the night. 6 2/3, 4 runs allowed, only 2 earned, thanks to Volpe's error. 2 walks and 9 strikeouts, so decent night otherwise for Fried. Still not looking completely the same, but better than his prior starts before that, handful of them. I'll give him that. And Williams giving us all a heart attack, but finishing it off, thankfully. And the Yankees would win the next 2 as well. Wednesday was pretty crazy, to be honest. This was honestly just a gritty win. Starting this game for the Yankees was Will Warren. Did himself a pretty nice job. Still a lot of decent amount of hits, but kept the Rays off the board. 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 4 Ks. So didn't do badly necessarily, but did allow a lot of base runners. But still got through it. And the Yankee offense did what they had to do to keep them in it. Anytime the Rays scored, they pretty much hit back. This was one of the more gritty and resilient wins I mentioned earlier. So scoring got started off of a Brandon Lau RBI double. That was the 1 run that Will Warren would allow in the night. Then Trent, the offense was quiet the whole night. Bottom of the 8th, Trent Grisham, our friggin' boy, ties the game at 1 on his 18th homer of the year. Then Giancarlo, RBI single, gave the Yankees a 2-1 lead. Feeling good at this point. Top of the 9th comes around, Yankees up 2-1. Williams in the game. And probably the worst changeup I've ever seen. Just being honest, it's probably the worst changeup I have ever seen thrown in my life. As flat as a changeup could possibly be in the low 80s, and Josh Lowe just clubbed it. And Williams completely deserved it, to be honest. So high, far, and deep into the night, gave the Rays a 3-2 lead. It was a 2-run towering go-ahead shot. My God. Bottom of the 9th then, and this was yet another clutch homer this past week from him. Got to give him his credit. Volpe tied the game at 3 on a solo shot, his 16th of the year. Then the Rays in the top of the 10th with the Manfred runner took the lead back 4-3. Bottom of the 10th, the Yankees retied it on a Cody Bellinger RBI triple, tied it at 4. And then in the bottom of the 11th, after the Yankees held the Rays scoreless in the top half of the inning, Ryan McMahon hits a deep fly ball to center, walks it off, RBI single. First Yankee moment for him, really. It's awesome. Yanks win it 5-4. Gritty win in 11 innings. Got to give it to him. Then Thursday, fortunately, they would finish off the series winning 3 out of 4. It was like the first series won for them, I feel like, in like ages, even though it wasn't. But like, it certainly feels that way. It definitely has been some time, but feels longer than that. So Thursday came around. Starting this game for the Yankees was Stroman. And he went 5 innings, 4 runs, 6 hits. Didn't walk anybody, but still not the best of outings. Fortunately, the offense did have his back for when he started to fold in that 4th inning there, because right away they got started scoring. RBI single for Cody, 2-run towering shot for Giancarlo, his 8th, and a 3-run shot in the bottom of the 2nd for Ben Rice, his 16th. His real big moment from this past week. And then Austin Slater, force out into the infield, drove home Jazz, made it 7-0. Then the Rays started to creep back. They scored 4 runs in the top of the 4th, but then nothing happened beyond then. Yankees pitching held them down, miraculously so in the bullpen. Very nice to finally see that. De Los Santos pitched 3 scoreless, and Loaizaga actually finished off the game, closing it out in the top of the 9th, doing a very nice job doing so for his first save of 2025. How about that? So, hell of a way to close out the series. Yankees actually miraculously win 3 out of 4. Trade deadline happens around that time. You're feeling real good headed to the weekend. Yankees supposed to have a good series, easy series in Miami. So much for that. It's funny. So things started out okay when Giancarlo hit a 3-run freaking laser in the top of the 4th into the left field seats, driving home Trent, and Jason made it 3-0. Then Jason, speaking of him, RBI single, and then a 2-run single by Bellinger right after that. 6-0 Yankees. Now, remember before, earlier in the show, I mentioned, well, the Yankees had an opportunity today to come back down from down, 6-1 at one point, pretty deep deficit. Well, the Yankees had the Marlins down in a deep deficit. I said, well, other teams like the Marlins can come back from doing that, and they did. They did. Rodon did start this game, and up until that 5th inning, he hadn't even allowed a hit. But then it all came crashing down from that point forward. He didn't even make it through 5. 4 2/3, 4 runs by him. 5 walks, walked the ballpark, had more walks than innings pitched. I mean, just awful. He had a lot of strikeouts, but just terrible. Just let them back in. 2-run shot from the Marlins and then a 2-run single, 6-4 before you could blink by the time the 5th inning ended. Then, fortunately, at the top of the 7th, Trent, as he always often does in the clutch, put some insurance runs on the board for the Yankees. 3-run shot, made it 9-4. And then from this point forward, this was the most remarkable part of the game, guys. From this point forward, you had every single Yankees trade deadline acquisition from Thursday implode. Every single one. Like, Loaizaga put an end to the inning that Rodon had started to come down with, and, Loaizaga allowed that hit as well, so that wasn't great, but he got the last out of that inning. Hedrick had a scoreless 6th, but then Jake Bird comes into the game to make his Yankees debut. He allows a grand slam, only getting 1 out in the bottom of the 7th in his Yankees debut. After that, David Bednar comes in right afterwards. The other deadline acquisition they had. One right after the other, as a matter of fact. Almost sequentially, too. Almost sequentially, because Bednar happened before Bird, but now it's Bird and Bednar. Same difference. Bednar comes in, allows 2 runs of his own. A solo shot to tie the game at 9 right after Bird's grand slam, nearly. So the Yankees had a 6-0 lead, then a 9-4 lead. It's now 9-9. Camilo Duvall comes in after all of that happens. So the Yankees at this point were losing 10. They were losing 10-9 at one point, after Bednar allowed the 2 runs. Then Volpe majestically, as I mentioned earlier in the show, tied the game again in the top of the 9th at 10 with a huge solo shot to left. Humongous solo shot. His 17th. And most recent. And at this point, you're thinking, well, come on, we got to seal this up, right? Have to. Especially because after the top of the 9th, they retook the lead, the Yankees. They retook the lead again. After that majestic Volpe home run, Ryan McMahon, RBI single in the top of the 9th. And then Volpe, RBI double to make it 12-10. And then the bottom of the 9th happens, guys. Mistakes once again. So Duvall's in the game. Bottom of the 9th now, right? So ground out to start the inning. Okay, 1 out, 2 more outs to go, and then the Yankees win a crazy game. A game that shouldn't still be going on, and the score shouldn't be half this ridiculous, but they'll still come out with the win, right? That's what you say. A win is a win. Single. Walk. And then the second and lethal error of the game from the Yankees' other acquisition. You have Duvall unnecessarily allowing a jam to begin here, and unexpectedly because he is that good. and Caballero, they put him in right field. Slater wasn't in the game, interestingly enough. He's the outfield depth you acquired. And Caballero, who does have outfield experience and has been good out there, was put in right field instead. So Caballero's out there. You had a base hit lined through the hole in right field. Right up to Caballero. It goes under his glove.
Holy crap!
Well, hold on, Frank. It's not done yet. Goes under his glove. Edwards makes it all the way to third. Now it's 12-12. RBI single and an E9, advancing him all the way to third. Ball goes all the way back. Caballero's got to chase it down, throw it back in. Edwards is on third with one out as the winning run in a 12-12 game that is just beyond anybody's wildest comprehension at this point. Augustin Ramirez, former Yankee prospect, because how else would it go? He comes up, he hits a tapper right up the right side, right up the line, right near home plate, but just far enough to the point where Wells can't get it and just turn around and get the runner at the plate. He picks up the ball. By the time he turns around, Edwards comes home to score. Yankees lose 13-12 in mind-boggling and mind-numbing, almost like never before, fashion. And every deadline acquisition on Thursday, Bednar, Bird, Duvall, Caballero, every single one, in one way or another, screwed up to lead to the Yankees blowing one of the worst games any of us have watched in at least a very long time, if not ever. I mean, can you write that in a script? It's unbelievable. It's unfreaking believable how this all happened. So that's what I mean, really. This and then the last two games, even though it wasn't with them directly, it just has you feeling a certain type of way and not able to objectively and single-handedly look at the trade deadline for what it was. My God. Friday night, like I said before, one of the worst games, if not the worst I have ever had the displeasure of having to experience. Yesterday, the Yankees the Yankee offense just went on break. They had 2 hits the whole game, got shut out. Schlittler only allowed 2 runs in 5 innings, struck out 6, gave up 4 hits, 2 walks. Both runs he allowed were on homers. Didn't have bad stuff, but the offense was nowhere to be found, so he was kind of just hung out to dry. Nothing happened. Yankees lost 2-0, at risk of being swept today, and they got their asses swept. Got their asses swept. It started off good because Trent led off the game with a home run, his 20th. Like I mentioned before. And Heel was making his debut. I was excited about that too. Although I didn't expect like S-tier Heel by any means. First time back after months and months and months and months being away. First start of the year. He ended up going 3 1/3. 5 hits, 5 runs, 4 walks, and 3 strikeouts. So we know that Heel has had the tendency to be wild in the past, but especially in his first start back for the entire year. Not at all surprised that that's how it turned out, to be honest. So it did start off good, but the Marlins jumped out in front almost immediately after that and just didn't look back. And the Yankees did nothing to pressure them, not like they did that anyway. So it was 3-1 by the time the second inning was done. And then after the bottom of the fourth, it was 6-1, and Jazz hit a 2-run shot, his 19th of the year, to make it 6-3 after that. But then the Marlins added on another to make it 7-3. It was just never competitive. The Yankees get swept out of Miami. Everything's fine, though, right? It's tomorrow. Tomorrow. Everything's all good. Yeah, I don't know. I've spoken enough about it. What's ahead for the Yankees this coming week? Well, I alluded to it earlier and how big of a series it is in the scope of the wild card picture now. 3 games next 3 days against the Texas Rangers in Texas. 8:05 p.m. tomorrow night, Max Fried against Patrick Corbin. That should be interesting. Hopefully the Yankees can grab that game at the very least. Tuesday, also at 8:05 Eastern, you got Will Warren against Nathan Eovaldi. If that's not the mismatch of a lifetime. Oh, my God. Then Wednesday at 2:35 Eastern. And this game is not on prime, by the way. Not a prime Wednesday for the Yankees, but on the 6th, it'll be Carlos Rodon against Jack Leiter. Should be another interesting day. But listen, despite the Rangers being only a couple of games over 500, give or take, this is not going to be an easy series. You don't take this lightly if you're the Yankees. The Rangers, if they just give a little bit of offense, they're tough to beat because they pitch well, man. They pitch well. Do not take this series lightly. Otherwise, that scenario that I mentioned earlier, the Yankees possibly being out of a playoff spot altogether before we know it, could very well come to fruition. Very well could. And then, lucky us, the Yankees return home next weekend to face the Houston Astros. 7:05 Eastern, Friday night the 8th. I'm sure this will go well, no matter what state the Astros are in. I mean, I know the Yankees had a couple of good series against them in Houston, but we all know how it's gone most of the time in the last bunch of years. 7:05 Eastern, Friday night. 2:05 Eastern, Saturday afternoon, the 9th. And next Sunday, the 10th, it'll be at 1:35 p.m. Eastern. And the Yankees have a 3-game set against the Twins, Monday to Wednesday the following week, and a 3-game weekend set in St. Louis the following weekend on the 15th, 16th, and 17th. Then they face the Rays at GMS again for just 2 games, strangely enough, Tuesday, Wednesday the following week. And then the 4-game set against Boston at Yankee Stadium the weekend of the 24th that I was mentioning before, and I should be at that game on Sunday, God help me. So, next bunch of games, what's ahead for the Yankees. Great stuff, can't wait. I don't know, man. It's just weird. Like I said, not quite the dread any other point that as I have this year game to game. I know everybody will mention 2023, and that's why I drew that comparison before. I mean, it's just not quite the same. The 2023 team, while it was just majorly flat after mostly May, I mean, Judge missed the time he did. Cole was still doing what he did to provide some excitement. And the Yankees just didn't do a fraction of their stupid crap that year that they've done this year. I mean, you had guys on the roster with Judge missing the time that he did. You had guys like Willie Calhoun on that friggin' roster, for crying out loud. And the bullpen was still solid. And the pitching was solid. I mean, there were things to still hang your hat on. While this team just has you feeling doom and gloom in a lot of areas and does dumber crap than any past Yankee team has done in recent memory and maybe ever. On a regular basis, the way they do it, too. It's just a different kind of sadness than the 2023 sadness, if that makes sense. I'm just trying to explain myself properly. So, that's that, guys. Let's just brush through this social media segment really quick, especially because there weren't that many replies because a lot of people didn't see it because I did it in a weird way. I kind of posted it since I figured it would be the topic of discussion, or at least a major one for this episode anyway, and mainly what everybody was talking about this past week anyway. I just posted it like right after the deadline happened, because the question was pretty much give a letter grade to the Yankees trade deadline. That was the question. And it's really the main question on everybody's mind, especially at that point in time, and I figured, why not post it and just have that be the question for Thursday. So I usually post a Yapping Yankees question on Saturday, or maybe even earlier in the day on a Sunday. But I did it way earlier, and it was just weirdly done. But I still got replies, and I'll go through a few of them before we wrap up here. So that was really the question. I gave my thoughts on it before, so I won't repeat myself. Let's hear what some of you had to say. We have at the Drunk NYY fan to start off saying A. Yeah, I mean, that would have been my grade if they got a starter. Not that I really hold it against them that they didn't anyway. You never know what happened if they tried. I mean, it is what it is, but I don't blame somebody for giving it an A. They really tackled a lot of their issues. At Fundamentals NYY, I mean, God, does that ring true? This year, he gave them a B, added to the bullpen, but wished they got a starting pitcher to help the rotation. Yeah, fair enough. They really did. I mean, the bullpen, the way they so spectacularly addressed that, I mean, listen, almost nobody just straight up bullies Cashman the way I do, and most of the time rightfully so. I mean, we all have our feelings about him. Many of us just are on the outs with him and have been for years at this point. But again, you give credit where credit's due. This was the best deadline he had in years, and it addressed a lot of the needs. It did. I mean, fairly so. Objectively, it did. And I'm perfectly in agreement with that. I pretty much said that I would have been in the A's if they got a starter, but I was in the B plus range anyway, so it's fair. Rebecca at Peace Now for Life says B plus. Love the addition of Ryan McMahon, and even with the bad debuts on Friday, I still think that this revamped bullpen on its own will be great. Didn't give up much and got many controllable players. A starter would have made it an A. Well, based off the opinions you heard me say before, you would know that I'm completely in agreement, Rebecca, pretty much. Not a thing there was false. At Grisham Season, love that, says B+. Got a great third baseman in Ryan McMahon, decent hitter and amazing defender. Improved the bullpen a ton. Would have liked to see Cashman trade for a starter, though. I mean, again, that's pretty much my entire thought process. A lot of us are on the same sheet of music here, it would appear. Damn, another rhyme. Look at that. I promise that those in real-time rhymes are actually just genuinely done in real time. I actually promise. That was completely unintentional. My buddy Spencer is next. Good to hear from you, my friend. Hope you're well. At Musician DMD. Hope you and your family are doing good. He says, though I wasn't familiar with most of the players, I felt optimism following the trade deadline. Giving the Yankees grades, I'd say they graduated magna cum laude. Sunday night, felt like a customer happy about a car they bought, then realized it was a lemon 3 days later. Oh my God, it's actually a really great analogy, dude. I like that. That's good, Spence. No, but it's true. That's exactly how you feel. Grading it on its own, you felt good. I mean, even the analogy of the of what you said with magna cum laude, that's good. You felt really good about it. That's true. Again, the last 3 days, I mean, Friday was just you can't write that in a movie script. You can't. It was actually surreal that actually happened. Oh, God. All right, last two. Usual last two before we wrap up. First up, my girlfriend at Vic Salimo. She says, last week on the social media segment, I hit on how important it was to improve pitching. They definitely did that as far as the bullpen was concerned and got good depth. I would give them a B or a B+. And a starter would have been nice, but they did a very nice job at least addressing the bullpen. Right you are, babe. That's the idea. The pitching had to, especially the bullpen. My God. And listen, it was just the perfect storm that only happens to the Yankees on Friday. But fact of the matter is, yeah, they still did address the bullpen the way they did, and that's a massive reason why the grades are what they are. For me, you, and a lot of others. Last but not least, my mom, at Julia Gina Scudero, says, I was looking forward to hearing this podcast as I knew you would get all your frustrations out with your voice and in such a satisfying way. Well, thank you. That's what I pride myself on. Anyway, the answer to your question is I thought the Yankees deserved at least a B+ or even an A- on what they acquired at the deadline. However, those very acquisitions made me sick to my stomach when 9 runs were given up yet again, as our bullpen has done plenty without these new additions. On Friday, I realize players have to settle in, but we Yankee fans have been through hell with this team. My patience is over. Hope these new guys wake up. By the way, I knew Heel would bomb today. God help these Yankees. Thanks, Mike. Well, thank you, Mom, for the reply, and thank you all of you as well, as always. Yeah, I mean, Heel, not a surprise. It's his 2025 debut happening in August. After he was out the whole year, he was never going to have a high pitch count, and Heel's also someone who's naturally kind of wild at times, and you factor that in with him not being his full self yet. And so, yeah, I'm not surprised he didn't have the best outing either. It didn't go too deep. Not surprising at all. But I agree with your grade. I think it's fair. But, yeah, Friday was just torture. Friday was just, again, it couldn't be written in a movie script. Just unbelievable. That's really all I have to say about that. But, yeah, I mean, listen, we have been through it. With what this team has done on a daily basis, with their mistakes and just their completely underwhelming nature, I mean, that's putting it very nicely, too. Very mercifully. Yeah, it's unlike quite any other Yankee squad out there. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's just beyond anything I could have imagined. They're lucky to be 8 games over 500, honestly. They're very lucky. Especially because for the better part of the last, 6-7 weeks, they're actually a losing team. They are. They're well under 500 in that time span. and they'll actually be under 500 in no time if they keep their crap up. So, sit on that one. And they got a tough pitching Rangers team coming up who's breathing down their necks for the last friggin' playoff spot. I don't know how many times I have to say that, but yeah, so you're right. God help them as far as this year for sure. They're like I said, it's the episode title for a reason. They're truly playing with fire. I don't know what it's going to take to get their heads unjammed from their asses. I don't know what it's going to take to wake them up. I don't know. And I don't think anybody else does either. That's just how spectacular the nonsense is almost on a daily basis. So we'll just have to wait and see. But in the meantime, guys, that does put a wrap on episode 260. I think I've yapped enough for one day. As always, just a few of the usual reminders before I head on out. Remember to follow me on all social medias if you don't already. Facebook fan page, Mike Scudero NY. My Twitter or X is at Mike Scudero. My Instagram is Mike Scuds97. Please be sure to also subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all 4 of the platforms it is available on. That is YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Like, subscribe, comment, wherever you may be listening to show your love and spread the word about the show like you all always do such a great job at doing, my friends. And if you have the time and you missed any past Yapping Yankees episodes, you can listen to the very first episode all the way back, over 6 years ago now? Back in 2019? Going all the way that far back. Episode 1 all the way up to 260 today. You can listen to every single Yapping Yankees episode on Apple, Spotify, or SoundCloud. But if you're more of a YouTube listener or viewer like I tend to be, that's fine. Just know that I didn't start uploading on YouTube till episode 34. So episodes 34 up to today's episode, 260, are all available on YouTube if you prefer that. But once again, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today. As always, my good friends, I have been your host, Mike Scudero, and we shall yap again, likely, depending on my timing coming home from the Yankee game, on Sunday, August 24th, and I'll keep you posted the whole time, when I come at you with episode 261 of Yapping Yankees. And again, I'll keep you posted on my status with all that. That's why it's important to follow me on socials, guys. Mike Scudero NY, Facebook, Twitter, or X, Mike Scudero, which is where I really post my minute-to-minute updates, so especially follow me on there. And Mike Scuds97 on Instagram. Just another plug with that. It's necessary. I'll keep you posted on the 24th. If not, you'll definitely get an episode on the 31st. Definitely. But until then, guys, the usuals. Hang in there. Be patient. Please stay safe. Look out for your loved ones. Go ahead and kick life's ass this week and the next 2 weeks, since I won't be yapping with you until at least the 24th, my friends. And that is just another reminder, too. Again, next Sunday, no episode. Got a wedding to be at the whole day. And the following Sunday, I will be studying hardcore to retake my Series 7 that I'll be retaking on the 19th. So again, please have your thoughts and prayers for me on that as well if you do not already, because Lord knows I am crapping bricks about that. So, got that coming up, and then I'll be at the Yankee game on the 24th, so we'll see what happens with that episode that day, but just another reminder of my imminent agenda for my plans coming up for Yapping Yankees as we head towards the home stretch of the 2025 season, guys. It's crazy, I know. Until then, may God be with us with this friggin' team over the next few weeks. I'm not even sure if he could help at this point. We'll see, guys. I don't know. Until we yap again, take care, and as draining as they are, let's go Yanks.